On my last video, I talked about recently upgrading my computer to get more performance out of Ninjatrader. So I wanted to take that video a step farther and see what impact RAM or memory speed had on performance in Ninjatrader. So for the AMD Ryzen 9 9950X, I'll be testing two DDR5 speeds, 4800 MHz CL40 and 6000 MHz CL30. It did not support DDR4 memory, but the Intel Core i7 14700K and 12700K both did. So I was able to test the 14700K with DDR4 3600 MHz CL16 RAM, DDR5 4000 MHz CL40 RAM, and DDR5 6000 MHz CL36 RAM. For the 12700K, I tested an older, slower memory speed of 2133 MHz CL15, the same fast 3600 MHz CL16 DDR4 RAM, and also the same fast DDR5 6000 MHz CL36 RAM. So my hypothesis going into this was that RAM speed would definitely help performance, and let's see if that is true. So I performed 3 tests, each designed to use different aspects of NinjaTrader and test system performance in slightly different ways. The first test was designed to use all of the processor's cores and threads at 100%. It did this by running an optimization in the strategy analyzer that used 3 indicators, 3 time frames over 5 trade days. And if we look at the results, we can see that memory speed actually had very little impact on performance. In fact, I would say these differences can really be chalked up to potentially just the margin of error between different runs. So if we see the AMD Ryzen 9 9950X DDR5 speed did not impact performance virtually whatsoever. The 14700K, the DDR4 RAM was just a tad slower, but a negligible difference. And interestingly, the 4000 MHz DDR5 RAM got a better score than the 6000 MHz RAM. But again, I would chalk that up to just within a margin of error. And the 12700K ran the DDR4 slightly faster than the DDR5 in contrast to the 14700K, but again, the results were virtually in line with a margin for error between runs. The second test I anticipated would have the biggest difference because it was a RAM or memory test. It was designed to use a lot of RAM by generating a lot of trades while optimizing a strategy. And it generates a lot of trades by just using a single indicator over a single time frame and optimize over 3 days. So again, we see the results are basically within a margin of error of the different runs, where memory speed is just not having a big impact on any of the processors. We see a bit of a reversal with the 14700K having DDR4 slightly faster, and the 12700K with the faster DDR5 RAM being slightly faster, but again, almost no difference there. And the last test I ran was a market replay, which is designed to use a single core or thread of the processor. A lot of NinjaTrader's functionality is kind of designed to be single-threaded. Basically, all applications were many years ago, and NinjaTrader, just still has some of that. So you'll see that if you run backtest or charts, they're all using single threads, and I use it for market replay. So I use 3 indicators over 3 time frames over 1 week in the market replay. And once again, we're seeing all the results are very close together, practically within a margin for error and almost no performance advantage to the faster RAM. So what happened here? I certainly was not expecting these results. I was expecting faster RAM would 100% make a difference. And if I didn't benchmark this, maybe I would even placeboed myself into believing it did. But so what I did, I ran a program called ADA64, which allows you to view how much memory bandwidth or basically speed or how much data you're passing through your memory back and forth in real time. And I watched this while I was running NinjaTrader. And what I found is that memory bandwidth usage rarely exceeded 15 gigabytes per second, which for the non-technical view is just not a lot. And just for reference, modern computers have been able to handle this kind of bandwidth for over a decade now. So it's not challenging for modern computers. So the question is, does RAM speed matter for NinjaTrader? And the results clearly say no. So I would say it's more important to have enough RAM to match your strategy than faster RAM. But with the caveat that even NinjaTrader's own documentation says you're not going to get any performance advantage from having extra RAM or too much RAM than your strategy needs. So you kind of want to right size it to your strategy. So my ultimate recommendation is that there's no performance benefit to buying the more expensive, faster RAM. You're better off just buying maybe a slower, higher capacity kit if your strategy needs it. But ultimately, you want to consider, how much RAM does your strategy need? What's your budget? And what are your other system uses? Because maybe Ninjatrader won't benefit from the faster RAM, but maybe you're doing something else with your computer that could. But ultimately, I would just save your money by maybe a higher capacity RAM if Ninjatrader is your main focus. So I'm curious to hear what your experience has been. Obviously, I'm sharing this information trying for my own knowledge and maybe try to fill in some gaps in other people's knowledge. So if you have anything you want to share, I'd certainly be interested in your experience with this. Thanks for watching.